Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Tyler Merkovich alongside the czar of the playbook, Emery Hunt, and we're bringing you an FCS preview on the Southern Football Conference. And let's start out with Appalachian State. You might know them. Their big win in the Big House a couple of years ago. Jerry Moore is the offensive-minded head coach that leads them. He was coach of the year last year. They were 11-3. Of course, our Monty Edwards is back again, their versatile QB. He's a lefty, he could run it. And DeAndre Presley, don't forget about him, filled in for Edwards last year. He was Offensive Player of the Week for 1 week last season.
Well, you also look at Monty Edwards bringing in his top receiver back, Coco Hillary. This guy's explosive playmaker, deep down the field, deep speed. He could take a short pass and turn it into a long game. He's a real good player. Plus, I like the fact that App State also returns 3 starters on an offensive line, so that's going to help them out a lot as they make a quest to win their 4th championship in 5 years. You also want to look at, they got a really good tight end in Ben Jordan, 21 yards to catch, so that's a deep threat at tight end. When you run a spread offense and you're able to have a tight end of that caliber, that's phenomenal.
Their 2 running backs to rely on are Robert Welton and Devin Radford. As you mentioned, offensive line, top of the receivers back, should be interesting offense again for the offensive-minded more. Let's move over to defense. Jock Roman was Defensive Player of the Year in the Southern. Get these numbers: 130 tackle, 3 sack, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 passes broken up, and 2 interceptions. That was good enough. DJ Smith for another linebacker, and Mark Legree led the nation with 10th interceptions as a free safety. So not only their offense, they got a pretty good defense also.
Especially when you look at every level, there's a playmaker. The question is, can they generate pass rush? It's going to be the big important thing for the Mountaineers this year. I do like the fact, I like DJ Smith actually better than Romaine. I think DJ Smith, since he stepped foot on campus as a true freshman, has been playing at a high level. He's a really good playmaker. To me, Romaine makes a lot of plays down the field. A lot of rapport. He's more like a wait and see tackler, so I like DJ Smith. He's more of an aggressive style linebacker. He's going to go seek out the running back and destroy him.
8 returning on offense, 9 on defense. They play at Eastern Carolina this year.
But
an in-state team.
They're going to need those defensive ends, Jabari Fletcher and Lanston Tainel, to come up and play big. Both of those guys combined for 12 sacks. They're going to need all that pass rush they can get against the East Carolina Pirates.
Well, Pete Lembo was 07 Coach of the Year for the Elon Phoenix. They were 8-4 last year. He's in his 4th season. 9 returning on offense, 9 on defense. Scott Riddle was a second-team All-League selection. Brandon Newsome is their running back, and Terrell Hudgens over 1,100 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns for this guy. The big thing is that they got all 5 returning on the offensive line, led by their left guard, David Harrison, who was a first-team All-League selection.
First thing they want to do is eliminate the turnovers. They're -3 in the turnover differential department last season. They can get that on the positive side. They'll be unstoppable. I like the fact that they do return all 5 offensive linemen back. That is key. That's consistency. They got a real balanced offense. They can run. They can beat you with the run. They can beat you with the pass. Elon is a real scary team in that Southern Conference and in the entire FCS. They have a real balanced offense that can hurt you in many ways. Terrell Hudgens, All-American wide receiver, 10 touchdown passes, phenomenal.
On the defensive side of the ball, they got a guy get to the quarterback, Eric Ludwig, their end. He got second-team All-League last year. And Walker Wright, their strong safety. Don't underestimate him. Also another second-team All-Selection.
Well, you look at the secondary is going to prove to be a real strength this year with Wright and Sullivan. The defense improves each and every year statistically, and it's going to improve more so this year because of the fact that they have a lot of playmakers back. You look at the defensive line and the linebackers, they only lost 1 player each at each level. So that's key. They get all those guys back, plus they get to play App State at home, Georgia Southern at home. So things are looking up for Elon, and I like the fact that they that run defense 3.9 yards per carry, 58% pass completion percentage, so they have a real solid defense.
They play a in-state BCS contender in Wake Forest.
That's going to be a real good game too. I really want to see that game. That's a really good game.
Let's move over to the Wofford Terriers, where Mike Ayers was 9-3 last year. He's in his 22nd year. Problem is only 4 returning on offense, 5 on defense. Mitch Allen, their quarterback, and they lose their All-American running back, Dane Romero. But Mike Rucker at least had 75 carries last year, which is decent.
Well, what the Wofford Terriers do, they run the option. So losing a running back won't hurt them because they have a lot of depth. They go at least 5 to 6 deep, at the running back position. So they're going to be fine at running back. The question is, the biggest question, can Mitch Allen produce in that option offense? Can he take the next step? Can he be, a good option quarterback, good playmaker? Because they lose a lot of key positions on offense, so a lot of key players. So he's going to have to step up and be that leader at the quarterback position.
On defense, they have Mitch Clark, who had 11.5 stops on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He was first-team All-Selection as a DN, and second-team All-League cornerback Mikael Johnson leads the secondary for the Terriers.
Well, Mikael Johnson is a really good cornerback for those guys. He's a real good playmaker. The pass defense has to improve. That's number one. Wofford doesn't get enough pressure on a quarterback. They have to generate some sacks. People sit back in the pocket and toss the ball to them all day. And when you run the option offense, it's tough for you to play from behind because you won't be able to come back. So that defense is going to have to step up. The linebackers, will be an entire new group. So they're going to have a lot of new faces there at the linebacking core. But the secondary, I need to see more aside of Mikael Johnson. So I have some questions about Wofford's defense. That run defense will slip a little bit this year because they lost a lot of people on the defensive line.
And the Georgia Southern Eagles. Remember, Paul Johnson used to coach these guys. Chris Hatcher's in his third year, 7-4 last year, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. Lee Chappell, that will be their quarterback. Adam Urbano, almost 6 yards per carry. Good thing is 4 returning offensive linemen with starting experience.
The passing game will take a step back. Now, Georgia Southern is another team that runs the offense, so the running back situation is going to always be fine. I'm not worried about that. My thing is, can they replace Antonio Hinton, the quarterback? That's the most important piece of that puzzle. And Urbano, can he be the man? Can he be the lone guy in that option attack? Last year had 7 touchdowns, 5.8 yards a carry. So he's a pretty good player. Just got to see more. And also the offensive line with those 4 returning starters will be the strength of that team.
On defense, nose tackle Markeith Wiley is heavily relied upon, and linebacker Terrion Benefield.
Well, you look at the defensive line is going to take a step back. They lost a lot of key players up front, so that's going to hurt them a lot as far as stopping people. I like the linebackers, though. They're young but talented. You have J.B. Shippey, a real good player. You also have another guy, I can't recall his name, but they have a real young guy. But J.P. Shippey will be the star of that linebacking core. It's a really good player. Also, I like the fact that their secondary will be a strength. You look at cornerback Carson Hill and Ronnie Wiggins combined, 9 interceptions. They can get their hands on a lot of footballs.
Let's move over to the Furman Paladins, where Bobby Lamb's in his 7th season. They were 7-5 last year, 7 on offense, back 4 on defense. Jordan Sorrells will battle Chris Forcier, the UCLA transfer, for the starting job, but Mike Brown, over 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, over 5 yards per carry, which is good. Only 2 returning starters on the O-line, which could be a problem.
I look at the strength of that team will be the wide receivers in Webb and Mims. Those guys are really good. Tight end Chris Truss is another good receiver. So they got some options at the spread, at the flank position, where they can get those guys deep down the field. So wide receiver and tight end will be a strength. That's going to help them out a lot. But I think Mike Brown will explode this year. Furman's always comes to play week in, week out, and they try to pound you with that running game, which opens up the play action and everything. But I do like Mike Brown. I think he will explode this year. 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, easy.
Linebacker Julian Hicks will be their leader, but first-team All-League selection. Defensive back Max Lerner had 4 tackles for loss, 4 passes broken up, along with 4 interceptions.
Well, outside of Max Lerner, the rest of the secondary will struggle. He's a key player in that defense. I also like the fact that the D-line will have to carry that team because they lose a lot of players in that linebacking core as well as in that secondary. That D-line can step up and make more plays. They're going to be fine on defense, but the defensive line for the beginning half of the season will have to carry that team.